everyone, welcome to your Yin Yoga practice. My name is Megan. Today we're going to be doing our practice entirely seated on the ground. So I have some props here with me, but if you're at home, you can use whatever you have nearby. So I have a blanket and I have a bolster. You could use a blanket from home, you could use a pillow from a bed or a couch cushion, and I also have a couple of yoga blocks. So if you have these at home, you might like to use those as well, and if you don't, that's perfectly fine. So we're going to begin today on our backs in Shavasana. So we'll come to our backs into a comfortable reclined pose. And again, with props, you might like to take your pillow or your bolster or a rolled up blanket and bring it behind the backs of your thighs or behind your knees. If you have a blanket you want to lay on, you can let that come down onto your mat or onto the ground. And if you want to cover yourself up with a blanket, that's fine too. So we'll go ahead and start here in a nice, comfortable, reclined pose. Just allow your body to start to sink down into the earth. And just begin to notice your breath, blinking your eyes closed. And let every exhale start to allow the physical body to become softer to the earth. And let the jaw relax. Softening all of the muscles of the face, especially the space between the eyebrows and the forehead. And just let your breath cascade across your chest, releasing any tightness from the chest or the space of the heart. Keeping in mind that the only thing that you need to be doing right now is simply breathing. Starting to let your day go. Releasing any plans that you might have. Imagine that you're breathing in from the crown of the head and you're filling your body, filling your torso with the air, just like filling up a vase. Visualizing the air traveling down the length of your spine. And with your exhale, imagining or visualizing that air releasing back up the torso, up the length of your spine, releasing it out through the crown of your head. Taking just a few more grounding and centering breaths. At this point, if you'd like to set an intention for your practice or use a mantra for your practice, a mantra is just a word or a phrase that you can attach to your breathing, something to center your mind throughout your practice, feeling free to come into that intention here for your practice, that mantra. And as you're ready to, you can keep your eyes closed here, and throughout your entire Yin practice, we'll just begin to draw in a slightly deeper, more active breath. Noticing the rise and the fall of your chest with each breath. And in your own time, we'll begin to make our way over to our sides. So if you have a prop under your legs and knees, you can push that over to the side. Maybe reach your arms up long overhead like a full body stretch, and softly make your way over to either your left or your right side. You can use your bottom arm as a place to rest your head. Allow your body to get really soft here. Let all of the big muscles and the bones of your body relax. Taking just a couple more breaths here on your side. Pressing into the palm, whichever palm is in front of your chest, gently rise up to seated. So we'll come up to our mats into a comfortable seated pose. This can be cross-legged or any other type of posture that feels good to you here. Letting your hands rest softly to your legs, either palms down or palms facing the sky. Blinking the eyes closed. Taking time to notice just one inhale and one exhale at a time. From our seated posture, maybe blinking the eyes open, we'll come out of our seated pose, uncross the legs if they're crossed, lifting up to tabletop pose, bringing your hands under your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. And we'll move through just a little bit of spine work here. We'll move through cat and cow with an inhale breath, moving into cow, letting the belly drop, lifting the tailbone, lifting your gaze just over the horizon, and exhaling as you round into your nice long cat back stretch, tucking the chin towards your chest, and moving just a couple more times on your own through cat and cow. We'll take just one last set here. Finding your way to a neutral spine tabletop pose, and then widening your knees to the edges of your mat, sinking your hips back towards your heels, coming into child's pose. So whether you like to rest your forehead right down onto your mat, or maybe you want to bring a prop into this pose, you can bring a bolster or a pillow underneath your torso. Allow your chest and your head to rest on that prop if you wish to. Sometimes it's nice just to have a place for your body to land here on the mat. And if you're not using any props, that's absolutely fine too. You can let the forehead come down to your mat. Let your tailbone or your hips soften over your heels, lengthening from the tailbone right out through the top of your head. And taking a few deep breaths here, inhaling and exhaling. With every breath, letting the body soften a little bit more to your mat here, allowing the big muscles of the body to relax. Let the breath lengthen. this child's pose, we'll lift the forehead a couple of inches and we'll walk the hands over to the right, getting a stretch into the left side body. So just bringing your hands off the right edge of your mat, then allowing the forehead to come back down to the earth, softening your left hip over your left heel, and actively relaxing your body. Breathing into this stretch for the connective tissue along the left side of the body, from the hip moving up into the ribs, just noticing sensation, noticing whatever it is you feel. Send your breath into those spaces. Last 2 or 3 breaths over to the right. And then softly lifting the forehead, we'll walk the hands across the top of the mat, bringing the hands off the left edge here. This time actively softening the right hip down over the right heel. Let your forehead come down to the earth, or maybe you like to bend one of your elbows, let your forehead rest on that forearm, whichever way feels most comfortable for you here. And just noticing right away the difference between the left and the right side now as you start to stretch into both sides of your body. Remembering that one side tends to hold a little bit more tension and tightness than the other, and just letting yourself soften into those spaces. And just 2 or 3 more breaths here. Lifting the forehead, we'll walk the hands back to the center of the mat and we'll lift up to tabletop pose again. We'll shift the knees back underneath the hips, and from here we'll move into heart melting pose. So we'll walk the hands forward towards the top edge of the mat, lower the elbows down to the earth, and then let the forehead rest down here. This is a nice stretch for the shoulders. The hips remain lifted up over the knees. If this feels like it's very tight for your shoulders to be in this posture, feel free to take either a rolled up blanket or a pillow or a bolster, sliding it across your mat, and we'll bring the elbows and the forehead down to the earth, and you can use your prop to relieve some of that pressure off of the shoulders here. Still getting a really nice stretch, opening up the joint of the shoulders, with or without the prop. And holding here just for a couple of breaths, lengthening the spine, allowing the chest to melt towards the thighs. Using your intention or your mantra here with your breathing. With your next inhale breath, lift your gaze towards your fingers. We'll shift forward into Sphinx pose. So keeping the forearms down to the earth, we'll move forward to let the hips rest down to the mat. The legs are about hip width distance apart, very neutral, softening the hip bones, the pelvis down toward the earth. Here my elbows are underneath my shoulders. This is one variation. You can also widen your elbows out to the side, and you can come into the same Sphinx posture, but just a little variation for the arms here if it feels better in your low back. You can also bring your forearms out in front of you and stack one forearm over the other. This is still Sphinx pose, just a little variation for whatever tightness or sensation you might be noticing in your low back. Eyes can be closed here, just breathing into this back bend. And again, noticing any sensations that arise, sending your awareness there, sending breath there. Staying with your breath, just noticing one breath cycle at a time. As other things might come into your mind, as they always will, just notice them as they come into your thoughts, and without any attachment or judgment, let them go. Holding this just for a couple more breaths. As you're ready to, we'll move into earth embrace or sloth pose. We'll widen our elbows out to the side like a goalpost. Bring your left ear down to your mat and slide your right knee up towards your right elbow. Then allow your entire body to soften down to the earth. And we'll gradually start to draw the right leg back down onto the mat. Looking forward, we'll move into seal pose. If seal is in your practice and you'd like to take that posture, we'll move into it by bringing the fingertips up and off the corners of the mat. We'll inhale to prepare and exhale to begin to lift the chest, straightening the arms. If this doesn't feel good to you in your back, feel free to come into that Sphinx pose again, bringing the elbows down to your mat wherever it felt most comfortable for you, or widening those elbows. If you're in seal or in Sphinx, we're going to just hold this for a couple more breaths. And when you feel ready to, we will release into our earth embrace pose again. This time the right ear will come down to the ground, goalposting the arms, sliding your left knee up towards your left elbow, then completely softening your body down to the ground. Eyes can blink closed. And we'll begin to softly come out of this posture, bringing the left leg back down onto the mat, bringing your gaze forward. Shift your hands underneath your shoulders. We'll lift up through tabletop pose, and we'll bring a little bit of movement here. So we'll take the hips and bring them back around over the heels, circling the hips forward and back, or any type of movement that feels good to you here. Bringing some length into the spine, bringing just a little deeper breath here into this bit of yang movement sprinkled into our yin practice, a little bit of balance of movement and holding of postures, working into the connective tissue. And as you're ready to, we'll come around to seated. So we'll bring our hips around to the mat, coming down to seated. We'll move into butterfly pose. So from here, if you have blocks or anything that you want to use to prop up your knees, I'm going to take my 2 blocks here into my butterfly pose. We're going to start by first seated. Also, if you'd like to sit on a blanket, feel free to use a blanket as a little bit of elevation for your hips, a little bit of cushioning for the hips as well. So you can sit on a blanket or whatever you have handy. Taking the soles of the feet together. This is our butterfly pose. We'll use the blocks if you've got them and if you want to use them, just to support the legs, creating a diamond shape here with the legs. So feet are touching, knees are softening out to the side, feeling free to use the blocks if you have them, however high or low you want to. And then we'll just start blinking the eyes closed. Let the hands rest on the legs, taking a nice long inhale breath, letting the spine become very long. And with your exhale, beginning to pivot forward from your hips and then rounding into the length of your spine. Allow the forehead to very slowly start to make its way towards the earth. Noticing as you come into this posture, any areas of the body where you might feel that you're holding or gripping. If you've got any obvious areas that you can feel your muscles tensing up, you might come out of the posture a little bit. See if you can soften those spaces, let those muscles relax, and then start to come back into the posture. So always in yin, we're finding about 70% of our maximum way into a posture, and then letting the time that we spend in that pose allow the body to open up slowly and start to make our way a little deeper into the pose if it's available to us. Noticing your breath here. Letting the mind just ride along on one inhale and exhale, breath cycle at a time. And just breathing into this place of stillness, just a few more breaths here in butterfly. And we'll begin to very gently, slower than you want to even, starting to round yourself back up to seated. Really, truly no rush to get there. Stacking one vertebrae at a time over the next as you round yourself up to seated. You might use your hands to assist your knees back up towards the sky. Toe heel your feet up to the outer edges of your mat, and we will windshield wiper the knees. I'm going to remove my blanket, but feel free to do whatever feels best for you here, as we will windshield wiper our knees, bringing the hands behind the hips, leaning back into the palms, and then allowing your knees to move side to side. Let this feel just like a soft massage for the backs of your hips, getting long in the spine and lifting and opening up the chest here. A couple breaths like this. And then we'll draw the knees back up towards the sky. Come back up to seated, and we'll extend the legs long on the mat, and we'll move into a half shoelace pose. So we'll let the left leg stay long to the mat. We'll bend the right knee and cross the foot over the extended left leg. From here, we'll draw the right knee over the top of the left knee. So this is one variation, and this is our half shoelace pose. If today this doesn't feel good in your hips or in your knees, there's another variation you can take, which is a half butterfly pose, bringing the sole of the right foot inside of your extended left leg. And you can do the very same things here, whether you're in a half butterfly pose or you're taking the half shoelace pose. Whichever option you're choosing, begin just to ground yourself here to the earth, feeling yourself getting long through the spine, reaching up tall through the crown of the head. And we'll add a little twist. We'll start by bringing the right hand behind the low back, and the left hand will come to the right knee, wherever your right knee is, in this posture or in our half butterfly pose. And we will twist to the right, starting to turn your gaze towards your right shoulder. Soft pressure from the left hand on that right knee here. Almost no pressure at all. Just breathing here as you notice what you feel along your spine in this twist. And just 2 or 3 breaths here. And with your next exhale, we'll come back through to center, and we'll move into a fold. So finding your way into just a little bit of a fold, really gently and gradually allowing your body to come forward over the legs to whatever degree feels comfortable here for you. Eyes can just softly blink closed. Noticing what you feel. Noticing any areas of the body that you might be able to relax any gripping or tightening out of, whether that's tightening in the breath, tightening or gripping along the physical body, or anything in your thoughts. See if you can relax the shoulders a little bit here. Let the breath become a little softer, lengthening the breath a little bit. And we'll hold this just for a couple more breaths. And again, just so softly resisting any urge to pop up out of your yin postures, but really gently lifting yourself back up to seated. We'll uncross the legs and we'll add a little movement here into the legs. So bringing some tapping into the knees or circling out your ankles, wiggling your toes. Your hands might just like to give your legs a little massage. And then we'll move on to the other side. So we'll start by keeping the right leg extended. We will cross the left foot over the extended right leg, bending that left knee, and we'll find our twist here. So placing the left hand behind your low back and right hand to the left knee. Get really long here in the spine with an inhale breath. And we'll exhale to twist and gaze to the left. As you do that, I notice my legs really tighten up as I do that, so I have to mindfully soften away that gripping. Breathing here into the spine, noticing what you feel without any attachment or judgment to it, just sending your awareness there, sending your breath. And with your next exhale, we'll come back to center and we'll move into our half shoelace pose. So this time the left knee will be resting over the right knee. Unless you'd like to take a half butterfly pose, if that feels better, feel free to move into half butterfly with the sole of the left foot inside of your extended right leg. And as you find your way into where you want to have your legs, we'll move into our fold. So blinking your eyes closed here, just taking a grounding inhale breath. And with that exhale, we'll start to lean forward, just softening yourself over your legs. Noticing what you feel and breathing into that feeling, into that sensation. Creating this connection to your physical body, your mind, and your breath. Allowing yourself to invite stillness into your practice. In our yin practice, we have our three major things that we do as we come into our posture. We allow ourselves to find the physical pose. We allow ourselves to find stillness in that posture. And then inviting yourself to stay in the pose. Really creating a connection to the breath. Energetically noticing what sensations, both physically and mentally or emotionally, that come up in your poses. We'll hold this fold just for a few more breaths. And we'll gently start to release back up to seated. Walk the hands back in towards your hips. We'll uncross the legs from whichever variation you've got your legs in. And from here, we'll move into a hammock pose. So we'll take the feet to the earth, feet about hip width distance apart, knees are bent. Hands are just right behind the hips, underneath the shoulders. And we'll take a breath in to lift up into this reverse tabletop pose or hammock pose. And exhale to let the hips sink back down towards your mat. And we'll do that over again, inhaling. Lifting, opening up the front line of the body, feeling that in the shoulders, and exhaling, releasing the hips again. And doing that one more time on your own, breath in. Exhaling, letting the hips come back down to your mat, and we'll come up to seated, letting the legs extend back down onto your mat, and we'll move into a caterpillar pose here. So if you would like to use your props into, this is a seated forward fold, you can do that in a few different ways. One way that I like to use my bolster is just behind my knees. If you've got tight hamstring muscles, that's a nice option to let the knees be propped up with a pillow or a bolster or a rolled up blanket. Another option would be to use some blocks for your forehead to rest on. So you can kind of play around here with different variations of using blocks in a way to let the forehead rest or not. So you can do different things. Another thing that I often will do in class is bend the knees rather, let the feet come down to the mat and use a bolster at an angle. And you can let your forehead rest on the end of a bolster and let your hands and arms just sink down towards the mat. And this is just another variation of our caterpillar pose. So taking props, if you've got them, and using them in a way that feels comfortable for your body today. And we'll start again just by closing the eyes as you start to prepare to move into this posture. And with your next exhale breath, we'll start to softly round over your extended legs. Coming into our caterpillar pose. Breathing into the full length of your spine, letting the forehead start to melt down towards the legs. Eyes can be closed here. And just noticing what you feel right away in this posture, relaxing any holding or gripping that may have happened in the big muscles of your legs. Also letting the shoulders start to soften forward, taking any holding that you might be doing out of your arms and out of your hands. Coming back into your intention or using a mantra for your breathing here. If your mind starts to drift off into other thoughts and other places, bringing yourself back here into this moment. Letting your mind just sit with one cycle of breath at a time. And we'll take just 2 or 3 more breaths in caterpillar. Begin to slowly walk the hands up the length of your legs, coming back up into a seated pose. If you've got some props that you're using, we'll move those off to the side for a moment and just adding some movement here to your legs, whether it's tapping the knees and rolling out your ankles and wiggling your toes. And from here, we're going to move into deer pose. So we'll bend the knees and we'll take our feet to the outer edges of the mat. If you have a bolster or a pillow that you're using, we're going to bring that to our right hip. So what I'm going to do is place my hands behind my hips here, lean back into the palms, and just like windshield wipering the knees, we're going to bring the knees over to the right. So my legs are in kind of a pinwheel formation here. My left knee is inside of my right foot, but I could also have my legs in any other comfortable position. If it doesn't feel good to you to have a pinwheel kind of formation with your legs, you can always stack your legs. That left leg can stack over the right. Then I'm going to turn my upper body to look back towards the back corner of my mat. I've got my bolster here. It's just touching my right hip. My hands are on either side of the bolster, and this right here is our deer pose. You'll feel this is a nice twist from the tailbone all the way up into the back of the neck. My gaze is forward, heart space shining forward towards my bolster. From this point, either staying up on your hands or coming to laying down on your bolster or on your pillow, whatever it is you might be using here. If you are laying down, you can practice by turning your gaze to whichever way feels better for you and your neck. So it doesn't matter whether it's to the right or to the left, but just choosing whichever direction feels most comfortable for you. Then allow your arms and your shoulders, your palms, everything. Upper body is really relaxing here to your mat. Let this posture feel good in your body. Allow your right hip to melt down towards the earth. Adjust your legs in any way that you might want to here, just to let your legs feel comfortable as we come into this deer pose. Eyes are blinking closed. And bringing awareness into the length of your spine here as you again connect your mind to one cycle of breath at a time. Letting go of any holding, gripping, or tightness along your back. Letting the chest melt down towards the earth. And we'll hold this side of our deer pose for just a couple more breaths. ready to, we'll really gradually start to lift away from the ground or from your bolster. We'll draw the gaze back to center here. Hands will be behind the hips as we'll windshield wiper the knees side to side. So just creating a little length in the spine here, a little depth in the breath. Noticing what you feel as you draw the knees side to side, how this feels along the hips and along the spine. And we'll prepare to move to the other side, the other direction. So I'll take my bolster and I'll bring it around to my left hip. It's going to be kind of at a diagonal away from my hip here. My knees are drawing over to the left, and again, stacking the legs however feels most comfortable. So maybe the pinwheel idea with the right knee inside of the left foot, or if it feels better, just stacking your right leg over your left in any way that feels comfortable here. And taking just a moment, planting your hands down to the ground. Your gaze is now just over the top of your bolster or pillow if you're using one. Noticing this sensation along your spine, and if and when you feel ready to, we'll start to lower down, letting your torso and your head come down to your props. Actively soften your shoulders, let the shoulders round forward, and take any work or holding that you might have been doing out of your arms, out of your hands. Let your whole body feel held by both the ground and by the props below you, sinking and melting your left hip down to the earth. And again on this side, maybe turning your gaze either to the left or to the right shoulder, determining which way feels most comfortable for you in your neck and in your spine. Eyes just blink closed here. Allowing yourself to come into the pose. Finding stillness in the posture, and then allowing yourself to stay here. Letting go of any sense of urgency or needing to be doing anything, but rather just breathing into this moment and into this pose. And we'll hold this just for a couple more breaths. And when you're ready to, we'll start to lift back up to the palms, beginning to softly straighten the arms. If you've got a prop that you're using, you can bring that off to the side for now. And we'll come back towards the center of our mat and we'll move into a firefly pose. So we'll take the feet off the edges of the mat and we'll come to a nice long spine here. Many options if you'd like to use props here for firefly pose. One of them would be to use your bolster if you've got a pillow or bolster you're using, and you can use that across your mat for your elbows, You can use it the long way to rest your forehead or your torso down on, and you can also play around with stacking blocks for your forehead to rest, whether they are stacked on the ground in front of you and resting your forehead, or creating a little tower on top of your bolster. So you can kind of get creative here with what you have and what you're using today, and to the degree that you want to fold forward. Just every day is a little different when we come to our mats, and we'll probably use our props differently every time we come into these poses. So finding your way in here, using props how you like to. We'll just start by taking that nice long breath in, eyes are closed. And use your exhale to begin to soften your upper body forward. As you come into this forward fold, if it feels that your feet are too wide and it's not comfortable in your legs or your knees, you can start to draw those heels towards the center of your mat and adjust your body how you need to here, using your props how you like to. And we'll just start to sink forward here, letting the breath guide your body into the posture. Softening the hips down towards the earth, relaxing the big powerful muscles of the legs. Noticing all the different places that you feel this pose in your body, what sensations come up and where you notice them. If your mind begins to wander, just gently bringing your mind back into this moment, relaxing any gripping, any holding or tightness out of your physical body. If at any time you feel any discomfort in this pose, always know that you can come up out of the pose. You can readjust your body, bring your legs closer towards your mat, or shift your props around however you need to, and then just let yourself come back into the pose. And we'll hold Firefly just for a few more breaths. And from here, we'll begin to softly rise back up to seated, taking any props you might be using, bringing them off to the side. You can bring your legs or assist your legs back onto your mat and bring a little bit of movement, whatever might feel good. If it's just tapping the knees and rolling the ankles out, that's fine. Or windshield wipering your knees side to side. Your hands just might massage the big muscles of the legs. And then when you're ready to, we will start to come down onto our backs, really gently rolling down here onto your back. Let your spine melt here towards the earth, back of the head softening down. Bend your knees and draw your knees up in towards your chest, and we'll circle the knees out a couple of times, going in one direction. Deepening your breath and stopping to turn the knees the other direction. Let this feel good in the back of your hips and then your low back, sacrum. And we'll come to stillness with the knees in towards the body. We'll let the left leg come long to the mat, and we'll draw the right knee across the body for supine twist. If you'd like to prop up the inside of your right knee or inside of your right leg with anything, a pillow or a block or a blanket, feel free to add that prop in if you wish to. And we'll let the right arm come straight out to the side like a T, letting the backs of your shoulder blades and your shoulders melt down towards the earth, opening up across the front of the chest and the collarbones. Blinking the eyes closed here. And just noticing and feeling the stretch from the very base of your spine as it travels all the way up into the back of your neck. Your gaze can stay towards the sky, or if you wish to, you can turn your gaze out towards your extended right arm. Beginning to take the right knee back to the center of the body, rolling onto your back again. Draw the left knee up to meet the right, and we'll do a little bit of movement here. Whatever feels good, if it's just rocking a bit left and right, or taking your knees around in a few circles. Take some deep breaths in, active exhales out. And we'll take our twist to the other side, so we'll let the right leg come long to the ground. If you've got a prop and you want to bring that over here now to the other side, we will draw the left knee across the body, propping up the inside of the left knee or the leg, and extend your left arm out to the side like a T. Let those shoulder blades soften down here, letting the entire body relax. Taking one intentional breath in and breath out at a time. Letting go of any feelings of rushing. Letting any sensation of working or holding or gripping go. left leg, left knee back in towards the midline of the body. We'll draw the right knee up to meet it. And again, just a little bit of movement here before we move into our final posture, Shavasana. Rocking the body side to side, circle out the knees, a couple of deep active breaths. And as you are ready to, we will release the body down to the mat or to the ground, coming into Shavasana. If you have props that you want to use, feel free if you need to sit up to take them. Do that here. If you want to take a bolster or pillow behind your legs, maybe covering your feet and legs or your entire body with a blanket. If that feels good here, you can do that. So taking just a minute or two, or a couple seconds to get comfortable here in your space, and then allowing yourself to lay back down. Let the arms rest alongside your body or any comfortable position for your arms. Maybe you like to bring one hand to your heart, the other hand to your belly. Taking a moment to come back into your breathing. Releasing your physical practice here and just taking some grounding breaths, relaxing breaths. Let every exhale release any holding, any sensation of gripping. Taking a moment to scan your physical body from the top of your head all the way down to your toes. Softening the back of your head to the earth as you relax any holding from the neck or from the throat. All of the muscles of the face are softening. Jaw is relaxed. Shoulders are melting heavily down towards the earth. Feeling energy traveling from the top of your shoulders down the length of your arms, out the fingertips. With every breath, your body gets a little heavier, a little more relaxed to your mat. Noticing your breathing here as you bring your mind's eye to your chest, your back ribs, and your heart space. Allow the back of your hips to get a little heavier here, letting go of any tension, any holding from the front or the back of your hips, your pelvis. And really letting all of the big muscles of the legs soften here from the very top of your thighs. Backs of your thighs and your knees. Any holding in the calves, letting the shins feel soft. Energetically just relaxing the entire length of your legs down to the ankles and through the feet into your toes. Every breath, continue to soften your body to the ground. is that no longer serves you, anything that you no longer need, letting that travel down into the earth. Letting the earth process that for you, releasing it from your body, from your mind. Feeling free to stay in this posture for as long as you like to, as long as you're able to. When you are ready or needing to move back into your day, begin to draw in a slightly deeper breath. In your own time, finding your way over to your side, whether it's your right or your left side, gently rolling there. Maybe using your bottom arm as a place to let your head rest. Eyes can stay closed. Letting your whole body soften here. Gently pressing yourself up to a comfortable seated pose, taking just a moment to ground yourself here to the earth as you softly and slowly come back into the rest of your day. Any comfortable seated pose with your eyes closed. Let your shoulders stack over your hips. Let your spine be nice and long as you open up the chest and just notice your breathing. And we'll softly gather our hands together, bringing the hands to the heart space. And lifting thumbs to our third eye center, seat of enlightenment. Bringing in light, love, gratitude, and joy. Sealing in our practice. Namaste.